Everybody wins in Indian bingo, especially the Indians. This is a bell pepper farm in Florida. The Seminole Indian tribe has invested $1 million in the latest farm machinery for this undertaking. The profits from the bingo games the Seminoles run at Hollywood and Tampa, Florida, provided that $1 million for this project that will teach tribal members modern-day farming methods. This school on the Fond du Lac Reservation in Minnesota cost $300,000. The money to build the school came from the bingo games on the reservation. This fish hatchery the Tulalip tribe has started at Tacoma will restock the waters of that area with salmon. The money to support the hatchery project comes from the taxes the tribe collects from bingo games. The future schooling of these Sioux Indian children in Minnesota is assured. The profits from bingo on their reservation have established their educational fund that is administered by the E.F. Hutton Company. These young people on the Tulalip Reservation in Washington State have money in their pockets. The new bingo hall on their reservation has created jobs, good-paying jobs for them. Yes, everybody wins in Indian bingo, and especially the Indians.
This is a lot of money to us here, and I know it means a lot to a lot of these people because we never did have anything on this reservation, and this is going to make all of us, I think, feel a lot better.
41 states now permit bingo. The American people now spend more than $4 billion a year on bingo. They spend more money on bingo than any other form of gambling, including the racetracks, Las Vegas, and Atlantic City. They spend more on bingo than movies and records, and 7 times what they spend for tickets to the 4 most popular spectator sports put together: baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. So there's no doubt about the popularity of bingo as far as the American people are concerned.
You play 85 cards at a regular? I do.
You can play 85 cards?
Yeah, I can play 100 if I want.
And keep up?
And keep up. And I win.
She does.
How do you do that?
Very easy. I got a footage at 9.
The higher stake bingo games are now played on approximately 80 Indian reservations across the country. This is a report on how 6 of those tribes are using the profits from their bingo. 2 of the tribes are located in Washington State, 2 are in Minnesota, 1 is in Oklahoma, and 1 is in Florida. For the Tulalip tribe at Tacoma, bingo is the only source of tribal revenue. It helps support their schools and many of the other facilities at the tribal complex. Their medical clinic, other treatment services, including alcoholic care and rehabilitation. The Tulalip Reservation land is owned by individuals and not the tribe, so the tribe's revenue comes from a tax they levy on the 3 bingo halls. The tribe's share or tax on the profits from just one of those halls last year was $350,000. From all 3, the tribe received close to $500,000.
We look at bingo as being a stepping stone. The income that comes in from bingo, we look at getting into other viable businesses and mushrooming out and providing jobs for the future for our people.
Along with the hatchery the Puyallups have started to restock their waters at Puget Sound with salmon, the Puyallups are doing with some of their bingo money what other tribes are doing. They're using it to revive and restore their proud cultures. At their school, their youngsters learn and practice the music handed down from their ancestors. Besides the $300,000 school built on the Fond du Lac Reservation at Cloquet, Minnesota with bingo funds, the $300,000 gymnasium where the bingo games are held was paid for from bingo money. And between bingo sessions, the young people on the reservation use the gym for school activities and their basketball games. Here we see them rehearsing for a performance they gave to the public from Cloquet and nearby Duluth. Many who came to see their show had never been to the reservation before bingo. Bingo money pays for the reservation's three-man conservation department. But the Fond du Lac tribal chairman says their children are the most important.
The priority of the reservation has always been education, and I think that's where we've spent most of our dollars. And as the chairman of the Bingo Commission at one time, we were spending it faster than we could make it. And I guess we're still doing that. And I'm proud to say that because 30% of our current profits are going towards education, economic development, and human services types of programs.
The Comanches in Oklahoma converted their gymnasium at tribal headquarters to bingo, avoiding startup construction costs of a new building. The first bingo profits were used to pay off tribal debts. Only Comanches can work at the bingo hall.
I'm home with my kids when they go to school, and I'm home when they get home from school. And I'm supporting my 3 children working here.
Did you have a job prior to the bingo hall?
No.
It's already reduced our unemployment rate by almost 6 points. At one point, we had an unemployment rate of 58%. We're currently down between 42 and 44% since 1981. So the significance has been jobs. We've pulled people off from the welfare roll and now have them working in the bingo in meaningful positions.
While the modern machinery and starting the Bell Pepper Farm on their Big Cypress Reservation is a dramatic use of bingo money by the Florida Seminoles, just as dramatic and every bit as important to the tribal chairman is the work their own tribal police department has been doing with their young people. The $500,000 a year needed to fund the Seminole Police Department is also bingo money. The chairman believes in one-on-one help for his people.
People say that's a waste of money. Sure, it's a waste of money. Look at your child. He's sober today. Why? Because the police department, whether you liked it or not, picked him up, locked him up, he sobered out, came back, he did it again, we threw him right back in. He got to find out that, hey, we mean business. Then the day came where he was starting to dry out a little bit each time. He was getting a bad record, yeah, but I think we can get that, what's that fancy word, expunged or something, give him some sort of a psychological names for it and get him off to a good start again. Lo and behold, the day came, he says, I am starting realizing I was hooked on something. I think I want to go to a detox center. Holy mackerel, we go to a detox center. He even goes there 5 or 6 times. It was an endless effort, but it took 4 years to reach a point that we got today that when I walk down the hall, people look sober. They're not in my office here begging for money to go buy some more cocaine or lewd or whatever it was. Okay, that's one part of it. I don't know how you take pictures of that. But it took money to get that. But where did we get the money? It sure wasn't from our citrus groves. It wasn't from our alligator wrestling. It wasn't from our land leases. It came from bingo. It came from our cigarettes. And what created that? When someone took the guts to understand it and challenge it, called sovereignty, and that's where we got it.
James Billy says he'll spend his bingo money on anything that gives his people self-confidence and a feeling of pride. Maybe he says even a little bit of arrogance because he thinks some of that might be necessary to get by in today's society. James Billy tells the young people, don't stay on the reservation. Go out into the world, find out what it's like, and when you know the answers, come back and help others in our tribe find their way. The new bingo hall on the Tulalip Reservation at Marysville, Washington is called the Entertainment Center. The Tulalip tribes are proud that from the beginning it's been a tribal undertaking. Unlike many other tribes, the Tulalips were able to go to a bank in Marysville and borrow the more than $2 million needed to build the big center. Most who work there are Indian, and the personnel manager says that to those young people it has turned out to be more than just a job.
I think it really does something for our tribal members to take part, and it upgrades them and makes them feel good for themselves. When I first started in here and we started in on the mock sessions, we had 2 weeks of training before we opened up to the general public, and I noticed quite a bit of difference in their appearance, how they act, how they can meet the public now, when they were kind of shying away. The Indian as such, he's a little shy to the general public. So, like like I was. But I'm getting better. I can meet people and talk to them now.
Unemployment on the reservation has dropped 30% since bingo started. The tribes have high hopes that money from bingo will be seed money to start other revenue-raising projects.
We want to use the money to create jobs or have development so that we know that our tribe will be economically self-sufficient. We want to put money into educational programs for our people here. We just want to get rid of all federal programs and do it ourselves, and I think this is the way we're going to be able to do it.
Most people around Minneapolis and St. Paul haven't the faintest idea why the Sioux Indians at Prior Lake, Minnesota named their bingo hall Little Six. Little Six was the son of Big Six, and to the Sioux, Shakopee is six, and Chief Shakopee was Big Six, and his son Little Six. The Army hanged Little Six for his role in the 1862 uprising. The first money from the Little Six Bingo Palace was used to repair roads on the reservation. Within a year, the medical center that had only been a dream was not only open for business, it was fully paid for. And bingo is paying for the new culture center. The most important thing to the Indian families, however, is the educational fund set up for the children. They won't have to worry about their schooling. It's being put aside for them in a fund looked after by the E.F. Hutton Company. There's no longer unemployment on the reservation. Everybody able to work has a job, and the hall has more than 100 from nearby towns working there. Nobody is on welfare, and there are no government support programs now. The Sioux at Prior Lake are free of government handouts. Tribal Chairman Norman Crooks says that before bingo, they tried to take up a collection to look into the possibilities and couldn't raise $50. Now, he says, for the first time in their lives, some in his tribe are actually thinking about buying a new car. Because bingo is a needed revenue source for Indians, tribal leaders have formed a national task force. Representatives of Congress and the Departments of Interior and Justice are on the task force. Their mission, to protect the interests of the tribes. They've also been working with Congress on new bingo legislation.
It is necessary to have some sort of insurance that Indian gaming will be able to continue. If it takes legislation, if it takes regulation or laws, I believe that's the way to go.
Tribal leaders see bingo not as the total answer, but start-up money to develop other businesses. And they need assurances that bingo is safe and their investments safe. They need legislation reaffirming their sovereignty, freeing them from worry or harassment, fear that local legislatures will try to put them out of business. They need in the law provisions to make it impossible for the underworld or scheming promoters to get into their bingo. A Florida tribe's deal wasn't too good, says James Billy.
They're going to get 5% of the net or gross, but they'll get $500,000 up front first, and then they're going to get percentage of it. I didn't quite like that. The sovereignty should have the controlling part in the first place.
The president has reaffirmed his commitment to a government-to-government relationship between Indians and the United States, and Indian leaders see that as his commitment to their sovereignty. The president said the Indian Self-Determination Act passed by Congress was a good beginning, but economic development of the reservations is needed so the Indians will be less dependent and more self-sufficient. Indian leaders feel their business of bingo is in line with the president's policies.
The funds that are received by the tribe go to charitable purposes. They go to the different social service programs, and they create employment on the reservations. As we have an employment rate that exceeds 65% nationally, and we have a life expectancy of only 47 years for the average Indian person. And so I think it's important that social services, employment, health, and all the different aspects of community life that tribal people feel are so important are met, and that includes education and training and teaching the culture back to our children. So that you have this great need, and the United States government can't carry the burden. The tribes realize that, and it's happening right now. We're in a transitional phase where the federal dollars are drying up. They're going.
Everybody wins in Indian bingo. Even those who don't win the jackpot say they haven't lost. Did you have a good time?
Yes, I did. Very nice time.
Did you win?
No.
Would you come back?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's exciting. It's fun.
With bingo money replacing many federal programs, Uncle Sam and the taxpayers win Indian bingo too. And to the Indians, bingo gives promise of a more meaningful future to go along with their proud and colorful past. And when older members of the tribe see their ancestors, well, they'll have big news about bingo. They call it bingo, grandfather. And what happens is a lot of people, and mostly white people, crowd into a big teepee and we sell them cards. Not beads, grandfather, cards. We read numbers, and when they shout bingo, we give them back some of their money. But we keep a lot of it, and that's what we spend for our people. It's bingo, grandfather. And grandfather, this time we win. Everybody wins in Indian bingo, especially the Indians.